Good afternoon, members. It's just after 2 o'clock, so your agreement to keep the meeting off. Point of the chair. First meeting of welfare reform. Apologies from Councillor Gregg. Councillor Bell's name is at the top of the list on the front page. Okay. Do we have any? Go on to item 2. Do we have any declarations of interest? Move on to item 3, appointment of chairman.
I was nominated.
Okay, thank you. Item 4, delegation to ad hoc subcommittee welfare by executive.
Chair, I think this report is self-explanatory. It's up on minutes.
Okay, do we have any questions? Councillor Carruthers?
Not a question, Chair. That's what I picked up on myself. Is copy and paste. I think policy. What was there and
Okay, thank you. So the recommendation members are asked to meet ad hoc subcommittee welfare reform as detailed at 2.3. Thank you. Item 5, welfare reform policy decision, position statement. Mr. Tracy.
Thanks, Chair. Thought it would be useful today to start off with by picking up on some of the decisions that were made by policy, easily reported back. So this report basically gives you notes of the meetings from the member officer working group on welfare reform, the lifetime of the existence that was disbanded as this set up, and as stated in the report, work of the member officer working group was considered a whole number of focus around the preparations for welfare reform changes that took place from 1st of April, as well as work around personal credit pilot. There were other as well. Secondly, in appendix, that's appendix 1. Appendix 2, you have a table which gives an updated position on the presentation made by policy 20th February, and some of those things are dealt with today. Thirdly, you have appendix 3, which provides you with copies of the correspondence exchange with the Minister for Welfare Reform, UK Government, and Cabinet Secretary Finance, Employment and Sustainable Growth, Scottish Government. And lastly, an update on pilot work, WP, as Section 5, most recent regulatory Chair, I'm really just suggesting that leave it at that, and then questions, comments, recommendations to make.
Thank you. Any member, any questions? Councillor.
Thanks, Chair. It's on Appendix 2. Most of the reports are listed there, but there is reference to a report on the expansion of credit unions. It's on page 27 of 50. Near the second bottom, it says, receive a report on proposals to expand access to credit unions and explore other banking options for bad debtors. It says, early development work carried out over recent months. Report on agenda of first meeting of ad hoc subcommittee. Unless I've missed it, I don't see that report on the actual agenda. Do we know when we're going to get that report?
Mr. Tracy.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, we were hoping to get that report up to this meeting, but it really does need a little bit more work with partners yet for ensure that they're robust enough. So scheduling RSL, bottom out, some other issues. We've actually reserved a space in the council calendar for the 11th, second meeting of the subcommittee, so expect.
Councillor Smith.
I don't want to preempt the report, but I think it's really important that the report isn't just about setting a timetable. I mean, I think the report should hopefully, when it does come to us, actually show what action we're taking and about to take to actually expand credit unions. I don't think we can simply wait for the commissioning process to deal with that next year. I think that's an issue that really needs to be urgently dealt with, and I would hope that when the report does come in June, it actually sets out a clear plan to deal with it immediately, not a timetable to deal with it sometime in the future.
I would agree that it's not just credit unions either that look forward to the report. There's other cooperative options considering that. Councillor Geddes.
Well, I'm pleased, not to say reassured, Chair, to hear you say you're looking at other cooperative options, and that's not meant, to be damning credit unions or anyone else for that matter with faint praise. But I would have to say that one who actively promoted the expansion of SRAR credit union into Galloway some time ago, it took an awful long time for us to get there. Now that's not meant as a criticism anyone in particular, but I would hope that in fact we will access, we will push to access to enhance the spheres of activity of credit unions within the region. And I would like to think that we can be a bit more dynamic getting matters pushed forward than perhaps was the case mid-Galloway not too recently.
Thank you. Can we take assurance, Mr. Tracy, that the report coming forward in June will be inclusive of cooperative beyond credit unions?
Yes, Chair, the policy and resources we asked to go beyond to other options. Certainly, some discussion. And certainly with that debate, going back to Councillor's point, again, just about.
Councillor Carruthers.
So, on a similar point, bring it in here. Welfare reform seminar. Wednesday. And came up very strongly, the discussion topic came up very strongly. Credit. That generally consumer protection. And that was one of the things that came up along with better health. Small business could apply and help us in that particular protection, whether it be credit, cooperative, whatever. On the question, where will that be? Do you hear any of that point? Will that be June 11th? What the outcomes?
Tracy?
Thanks, Chair. Yes, we've there's a huge amount came out of the two events on 24th of April, events, and that has all now been typed up in its raw form, and so I brought along copies. I brought along copies for members to circulate in the meeting. That will interest you, but the health warning I would attach to it is that it is in its raw form. It's not been edited or organised in a way that will make it raw conclusions from it. A lot in there, over a number of pages. So we have a piece of work to do. And what I propose to do is report back properly on that at them. But it's there for members to have a look. If there's anything members want to follow up.
Councillor Geddes?
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. Can I say that I find it totally unacceptable that a seminar of such importance was arranged for the same day as a meeting of the Planning Applications Committee. I did write and express my concerns. My comments were obviously treated as rhetorical, since I did not get the courtesy of an acknowledgement, far less a substantive response. And I would seek your assurance today, sir, that there will be no repetition of that going forward. As far as I'm concerned, we have a central diary, and that should be respected. And what took place last 24th, last Wednesday, as far as I'm concerned, simply was not acceptable.
Thank you. Yes, I would seek to ensure that all members have equal opportunity benefiting from these discussions across various remits, the various organisations within the region. It was a very well attended seminar by the various outside bodies, and unfortunately coinciding with the planning committee wasn't helpful in terms of elected members being able to attend benefit. But, to that end, can I suggest that the papers Mr. Tracy spoke of earlier, distributing to members here, be made available to all members across the council? Councillor Ogilvie?
At the seminar, Gavin Stevenson, executive, wanted some quick wins, stuff that we could quickly do, communications plan, stuff that could be taken forward quite quickly. If we're waiting to June, that doesn't necessarily mean quick. Now, the question is for Justin, is there stuff outside of this committee that can be rolled out quickly? That would need member approval, communications plan, signposting. A lot of have one, no duplication. It's like mapping to all the rivers. That's a bigger piece of work. But in that, there was suggested that there could be some quick done. So I just wondered if Justin.
Thank you. Mr. Tracy?
Chairs, I think there's no doubt, Councillor Ogilvie, there are things that we're doing in advance of 11th. Well, that decisions that were taken on 26th of February around communication. And obviously we've been having to do communications, have a plan in place. I think it's about now how we build on that strength, broaden it out. So I wouldn't anticipate waiting for them to get authority to things completely covered. But there will be other trying to be as possible in getting on with the things.
Councillor Carr?
Back to make it through the recommendations. Resolution 2.3, page 35, number the paragraphs. Paragraph, middle of the page, 4 through to paragraph 7. Particularly paragraph 4 that tend to size criteria. If we've got any more updates, is that as far as we go and as far as that's general verbal update on all those paragraphs. Page 36 is an outstanding matter as far as that paragraph.
recommendation 7, sorry, as far as those recommendations 7, 10.
I suppose just being as direct as I can and share. I think the one I'm most interested in, I'm interested in them all, but is paragraph 4. We intend to lay, in regards to Welfare Reform Act, intend to lay amending regulations to clarify the size criteria, rules of 2 specific groups, foster care of parents of armed persons. I suppose we touched on the baseline. 2-bedroom as 1-bedroom as well. Just wonder if there's any movement whatsoever.
Lorna?
Yes, there has specific where it allows for foster carers to allow one option loan policy, one with family. The armed forces, there's some
Councillor Smith?
As long as I'm at that point, well, the 2 regulations already, but they don't actually change the fundamental issue and the concern that this council had, which was around the fact that we don't have enough single-bedroom properties. That was our request to the government, was that we wished the criteria to be changed to have the minimum standard of 2-bedroom property. I think everybody's full agreement with that, and the letter basically says no, is what the reply says, and I think we should write to our 2 local MPs and ask them to take the case up on our behalf, because obviously we've not got a good response from the Minister, and I think we have to try as best we can to take that particular request further. 2 regulations referred to don't in any way change the fundamental problem we have. Can I go back to the Appendix 2 on some of the reports, and just to try and get a wee bit of clarification on when we'll get certain items? I'm curious in terms of page 27, the mapping arrangements on food banks, furniture projects, etc. Is there I mean, I know it's quite a big piece of work, but October does seem an awful long way off to get that piece of work done. I mean, I think we've all probably started getting cases already where we're actually scrambling around trying to find support for people. I had one recently in which it ended up like the Salvation Army were the people that ended up filling the gap, but that took quite a bit of running around to try to get information on that. You know, if I go down to Alistair's constituency ward, I can see a really good food bank in the Mackers, but if I go along to Stranraer, it's not developed yet. It's still at the starting point, despite that being a major town, where a lot of people are actually under a lot of pressure at the moment. So there's a real, I think, an urgency in trying to map out where this provision is, trying to identify where there's overlap. I think that's important. If there's duplication, we need to try to see what the council funds and what maybe it shouldn't fund. And more importantly, we have to really identify as soon as possible exactly where the particular gaps are. It refers, for example, in money advice, I had a case recently where it wasn't an issue on welfare reform. It was somebody who had an unfair dismissal case, and I referred them to DAGCAS, and they were basically turned away from DAGCAS. And the answer they got was they didn't have the resources to help that person. Now, fortunately, I was able to get somebody from Welfare Rights to give them support and take up their case on their behalf, and they're pursuing that matter. But the response from DAGCAS was pretty much, we're being snowed under by welfare reform. You know, we've actually got queues outside the DAGCAS office in the morning in Dumfries at the back of 8 o'clock. People actually waiting to get advice, and people actually having difficulty getting appointments at the moment. So there's a real issue over money advice and exactly how we actually fund that. So I'm really keen that work on mapping is done as quickly as possible. And also on the issue of money advice, in terms of the report on the implementation of additional funding for DAGCAS, it makes reference in the update to a 6-monthly progress report scheduled, with the first one due at the end of June. Can I just ask who that report actually goes to? Is it a report just to the council? Is it a report that actually comes to this committee? And the final point on that particular appendix is on page 29. It makes reference to the wider impact of welfare reform being included in service committees. Obviously, those of us that are on the housing committee will have had a report on some of the implications of welfare reform in terms of housing, but I'm just curious as to how this committee oversees some of that particular work. How do we get regular reports back at this committee as to what's happening in other areas, what pressures other committees are on? Because we can see housing because it went to housing committee, but I'm keen to know how will this impact on social services? We know that people's benefits are going to be cut, so the amount of income the council gets through charging is automatically going to be cut as well. So when do we get information on that? What sort of monitoring are we going to have in place to have a sort of strategic oversight as to what the overall impact this is going to have right across the council? And we're absolutely clear that every single department in the council is actually looking at welfare reform and actually looking at how it impacts on them, right through from education to social work to housing.
Thanks very much. I think the word that stood out for me more than anything is monitoring. What Councillor Smith was saying, we wait till October for reports to be brought forward on activities that we expect as elected members that are happening on a daily and weekly basis. Monitoring is ongoing of what's happening there. All of the supporting organisations, both people across and the council, financially or in kind. So I'm a bit alarmed that it's taken till October all the time, assuming have council their finger on the pulse of what's happening. That's wider questions.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, I think there are three questions there. So firstly, in terms of mapping, yes, all of us involved fully accept the importance of mapping is being undertaken and progress needs to be completed, and in terms of identifying gaps, mapping information is demonstrated. I think October is in there as a backstop, and I would certainly very hopeful to get something up before then. Moment of schedule, 11th of June. We've also put in the date for 1st of July, just to have a date for recess, and effectively shortly after the recess, or sub needed, certainly do our utmost bring that mapping work as soon as possible. Certainly try and do it. Second point around the DAGCAS report, I'm certainly interpreting the decision policy around this, that this monitoring report should come back may get summarised in terms of normally the policy and resources performance report on services will contain information on the DAG Commission. I would expect all this information to be summarised in there. I and some of my officers meeting schedule with DAGCAS on a monthly basis can ensure that whether that will make the July meeting being on 1st of July, that would be not possible to get a full quarter information. In terms of the other pressures across services, we're now that the member officer group has been disbanded, we agreed, or corporate management team agreed weeks back to establish an officer group across the council, so that we've still got that officer coordination across the council. And I was keen that it was accepted at senior levels, it's either at head of service or service manager level. So that officer group is being assembled at the moment, meet mid to second half of May for the first time, and one of the key tasks for that officer group to identify the pressures within the council as they start to emerge. And they aren't emerging at this, it's too early at this point, but if they emerge and as they emerge, those will be identified and some effect. Obviously may require
you. Councillor Geddes.
Thanks very much, Chairman. Let me say that I agree entirely with the narrative from a mapping perspective. We identify these gaps, and that we display the political will and political with a small p will and commitment to have these addressed and the most effective as well as most expeditious way possible. I don't think, quite frankly, we can afford to stop realising and to stop having at the forefront of our minds that these are human issues that we're dealing with. And going back to Colin's comment in particular about food parcels, for want of a better term, being distributed in the Mid-Galloway context, I would commend unreservedly those that are involved in the exercise. But to think that in 21st century Britain, not just Scotland, Britain, that such a course of action, in fact, should prove to be necessary, I think, quite frankly, Chairman, in my view, is nothing short of outrageous. Where's the social justice? Leave it at that.
Thank you. Councillor Ogilvie.
Thanks, Chair. Just to go a slightly different subject, Appendix 4, Part 2 is the update on learning, and there's some statistics there, digital applications versus paper applications. And you can see there's quite a 2-to-1 ratio, basically. It came out at the seminar as well about digital being the default for applications, and it was some statistics were given that day that not everybody's got internet. Quite a few people haven't got it. And those who do have it might find the process quite difficult. Now, I see in the paper here that the potential learning event, which is over the page, on page 41 and 40 and 41, looking down the two tables there on the respective pages, Annan, I know it says it's going to report bi-monthly, so March, April, maybe we'll get a report in May. I'm guessing that's what the thing is, because Annan's the third biggest town, yet there's nothing in there at all. Both tables referring to Annan. But one of the things that was discussed last Wednesday was how we can help people. And I know it's a resource issue, but if we're going to have a default on digital, then people may have to help through the process. Though, and here it mentions it's an hour per client, but that's something we'll have to address. We don't want people basically disenfranchised because they haven't got access to a computer or internet and find the process very difficult. Most forms are quite difficult, and that's for those of us that are illiterate. People with difficulties or not a great grasp of numeracy or literacy might find it really difficult. So I know it's a big question, but I just wondered how we're going to address that, because that's crucial for folk to access what they're entitled to if it's a digital default.
I think a major message that came across at the same seminar was the fact that you had to try and get this right first time. They need that support guidance right. I also believe that the representative from the EWP did indicate there had been some degree of relaxation on the digital default position. Just ask Lorna to pick it up from there.
Figures that one that actually that report what the while we do focus
further questions? Councillor Maitland?
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, Lorna, that there have been obviously some changes, terribly early days, come in. I wondered, Chairman, if we might have just had verbal and anecdotal, though it will be. I wonder if there been any information you can give us. I'm thinking of the Welsh Fund demonstration.
Thank you, Lorna.
With regard to Scottish Welfare Fund, now for first, the demands on the fund, from, and I think for that, I think fund. One of the big things to find fact, one fix, and that's what the partner. But the one of the biggest. We have 290.
That's interesting. I just wondered whether how many we might have expected in April on previous years. The only idea roughly what was
From the
Thank you. Mr. Tracy?
Just to add to that, what we tend to do the next meeting
Other questions from the members? Members happy to note the recommendations 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4. And a note has been taken of the debate. Councillor Smith?
I think that I'm not just happy with noting the replies we've had. The reply from the Cabinet Secretary kind of basically saying, think about it next year. And the one from the government. I do think government that half light I'd also quite like
I'm sure that was an with. Okay, thanks very much. Moving on now to item 6 on the agenda, welfare reform resources. Mr. Tracy?
Thanks, Chair. This report is a response to the decision by Policy and Resources. This subcommittee received some possibility of establishing summarise what we have in terms of resources at the moment. And there are 4. One funded from the are putting fairly we're anticipating. I'm certainly anticipating that that we are going to need additional resources relatively short term in order to run some of the recommendations, decisions made by policy and resources, some of the work around we've already touched on around credit union mapping, work around looking at how we integrate the various fund some of the time, and so we had a discussion with the corporate management team taking how we can direct resources to prioritise work just now, and if that requires policy. So I've got various suggestions made by departments at the moment, which certainly assist core team. I've no doubt that as subcommittee meets and as they develop, probably come back.
Councillor McGregor.
I welcome the assurance to be able to get fairly quick. Certainly, direct struggling. I know council I think the direct line, and we're unable to get strong. And I think having fast, what we can do is continually monitor as well to actually that orange one. Can't
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Councillor McGregor's touched on the first point I was going to make. The second point is just, what is the criteria to determine whether or not a report will be presented to the next Policy and Resources Committee regarding resources? It seems to me it's almost a no-brainer that we are going to have to put additional resources into this. I mean, a lot of staff are under an awful lot of pressure. Lorna just highlighted a figure today that we anticipated 160, 170 applications to the welfare fund, and we've already had 292 in the first month. It's pretty clear that there is a lot of pressure on. I think Councillor McGregor talks about that getting through in the phone line. That's certainly an issue that's came across as well. So it just seems to me almost a no-brainer that we will need to put additional resources into. One of the additional resources deal with the piece of work that will be required on credit unions and other issues highlighted in these reports. So I'm just not too sure where the sort of question mark is over additional resources. I would expect, as a member of the Policy and Resources Committee, to be asked to make a decision on trying to find those additional resources. I appreciate things are tight, but my goodness, this is a massive change, and it's going to put people under an awful lot of pressure. We can't just expect existing staff and existing roles just to continue doing their existing role and taking all this work on board at the same time. That's an issue that needs to be tackled, and I would hope that we do get that report and we do look to find those additional resources.
Thank you. I don't see any difficulty in adding a recommendation to the meeting today that would ask for the report to go forward to the next year on the question of additional future. Councillor Maitland.
Thank you. Well, what I was really going to say is that actual fact, it's not an inconsiderable amount of resource already being applied to this particular problem. And, while I see that there is a major change, and I'm well aware that major changes going on, and there is pressure on the system. I mean, I think it was the chief executive of this council who said, when there was the terrible occasion in Lockerbie, don't anybody come to me and say you can't do your job because of Lockerbie. I'm afraid people must, from time to time, step up to the mark. And the director's already said it's about prioritisation, and that's what it's about. I can see that we will have to rejig priorities. But I want to know about that, to be absolutely clear, so that people don't come along and say, we can't do this, we can't do that. I want to be totally clear about it, so that it comes through the business plans and it is then monitored about what is being done and what is not being done, what we can expect not to see, and we accept that. Because in the past, there's been quite a lot of fudging going on, and people have taken an opportunity. You look surprised, Chairman, I know, and but I think in order that we protect officers as well from our own expectations, that has to be absolutely crystal.
Thank you. Mr. Tracy?
Perhaps help to clarify on Councillor Maitland and point on this issue. What I anticipate that is if prioritise direct from an activity or a project contained within that appropriate place, that isn't impact. Like
Councillor Geddes?
I would again tally with the sentiments that Councillor Maitland in particular has expressed, or to put it another way, and you know exactly the chief official I won't mention, but I'm alluding to, as I indicated in writing to him not so long ago. Tell us what we need to know, what you think we want to know, not what you think we want to hear. And I think it's absolutely imperative in these circumstances, that we're told what we need to know to face up to the political decision, to channel adequate resources into meeting and addressing it. There's nothing worse at the end of the day than to have it obfuscated.
Councillor Ogilvie?
I think we've got to redirect. It's the biggest change in the welfare system ever. However, once the mapping's been done, the resources may be shared with other organisations, third sector, housing associations. In the meantime, we're the sort of biggest player. So it falls upon us initially. However, once the mapping's done, then resources may be shared. We are burden on the council as much once we get that full picture. But in the interim, I think we've got to do the right thing.
I think, again, one of the things that were demonstrated at the seminar, buy-in from those partners there to work with the council. Addressing any other questions? Okay, members happy to go to the recommendations with the added recommendation as previously mentioned. Sorry, Councillor McGregor.
Happy with line and make it that house.
Members happy with that? Move on now to item 7 on the agenda, discretionary housing payment report. Lorna, can I ask you to speak to this, please?
Set out for legal what and also drawn what we try to look at is actually from other local authorities or other Scotland, some private priority even if we hand in funds as a fund. I would just like to draw attention to a bit of an error in there, line 4, says this does not. Probably just a bit of an update on, well, we have had again welfare fund debate, had quite an influx of in 2 months. 5 quite a considerable number of them are in the phone.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
I suppose for me there's two issues in the report. The first issue is we've obviously allocated some resources to the discretionary fund that takes us up to 404, but we can go as high under the rules as 580,000. Ideally, the Scottish Government would come in and deal with taking it right up to 900,000. We anticipate we're going to lose, but that's unlikely to happen as things stand. So the maximum we can spend is 580,000. I don't know the answer to the question. I suspect is not enough, 494,000. But how are we going to assess whether or not we have to allocate the additional resources to the discretionary fund? I'm not entirely sure how we do that. We've allocated 494 at the moment, but it's a very arbitrary figure. It was basically what was left over in the administration's budget. So how do we determine at what point does it look like we may not be able to meet the demand? Are you assessing things at the moment based on you've got 494 in the kitty, so we have to assess it on the basis of that's how much we're going to have to spend towards the end of the year? Or are you getting to a stage, given the number, and that's an astonishing number of applications already, you think that actually the 494 may not be sufficient to deal with things in the months ahead? I'm just curious as to at what point do we have to make a decision as the Policy and Resources Committee, obviously, to look to find that additional 86,000 to make up the amount. I mean, so again, it's almost a no-brainer to me that we'll have to do that at some point, given that we're going to lose out £900,000 alone based on the bedroom tax, never mind all the other changes that are coming in. And the second issue in the report is really about the criteria. I think I'd quite like to see, if I don't know how big the document actually is, the DWP's criteria, just what we're working to. I think it would be quite helpful just to get my head around that criteria. If members got a copy of that, just so we could actually see it, just to see what you're working with. In terms of 3.10, are you asking us to effectively agree to all those on the list, or are we looking to prioritise them? Make our decisions under the recommendations.
Thank you. Mr. Tracy.
Thanks, Chair. I think it is very early days in terms of the budget allocation and as to whether that's going to be adequate or not. And we're obviously mindful that we have to look at the case of merits and decide and the other priorities today. So I think it's something we're going to have to monitor and bring back to you, really, monitor some projections to be able to assess whether the budget is going to be adequate or not. But stress merit. In terms of the no difficulty at all. Quite a lot of guidance might be a hard copy. Like not haven't set it out as a priority list. Just a whole number of circumstances. May or may not apply.
Not in particular order, trying to control welfare reform
Councillor Smith?
But I think what would be maybe useful at some point in the future is actually some worked examples. I mean, I know obviously confidentiality, you can't see somebody's application, but some worked examples. I mean, I'm not entirely sure as things stand. If suddenly I get a 14% cut in my housing benefits, I've got an extra bedroom, and I apply, it'd be quite good to see all the things that I've taken into account in an example, you know, worked out, because there's so many different, I know there's so many different things you've taken into account in terms of income. It'd be quite good to get a range of examples, because it's not clear to me whether or not somebody who loses out on the bedroom tax is getting that whole 14% plugged. I suspect they're not. And I just want it's good to see exactly examples of how much we're actually allocating in terms of discretionary fund, and in what particular circumstances. I know you have to look at them each individually, but it'd be good just to work out exactly to what extent we really are tackling the significant problem that's caused by the bedroom tax. In terms of the list of criteria, I suppose there's two that kind of spring to mind. Well, one category, if you like, people that are affected by the bedroom tax, but we would probably regard as having a legitimate reason to have a second bedroom. But despite the new regulations that came in recently, there are a number of cases that we would say that they need a second bedroom, but the government's rules say they don't. I mean, an example might very well be a married couple where somebody has a disability or somebody has an illness, whereby they sometimes sleep in separate rooms, you know, to ensure they get a good night's sleep, for example, is a case that was certainly flagged up recently, that the medical condition means that they have to use a spare room. And the other one is I suppose, is people with joint custody of kids. Obviously, that one person gets the child benefit, another person doesn't, but they may basically both share custody of the kid, and therefore they have a second bedroom, that sort of thing. So there's almost cases where we know they're being penalised by the bedroom tax. The rules don't, you know, still penalise them and say they've got an extra bedroom, even though in our view, common sense actually says, frankly, they should have a second bedroom. These people are never going to move house because at the end of the day, they need that second bedroom, despite what the government says. And I think that sort of type of case should be built in as well.
Thank you. Yes, I have a certain sympathy where someone might be subjected to the bedroom tax at whatever level, 25, whatever, recently deceased of a spouse, but on the waiting list for a bedroom house isn't available. What sort of cushion can we afford for those? So it's those types of case studies I think that members would find particularly helpful. But the other thing that concerns me is the use of the word discretion and ensuring that we have consistency across the region. The exercise of that discretion, how can we be assured of that? Mr. Tracy, would you address those questions raised by Lorna? Lorna, thank you.
Those are the specifically around for in that will starting point we always their income. That's where there is a difference. But with regard to levels of board, that will some will get what their financial some up and get I think that's
Thanks, Chair. Just on the point of consistency, policy delegations, working guidance, date, staff team, and staff carry out got task, very training program space of time, and above that, policy check carried out by so a whole number of measures in place, maximum level we can without
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
The only one in that list that does kind of jump out is what always strange is the one for 4 bullet point which says working and have managed to secure extra hours additional employment. I know that we're trying to encourage people to deal with this situation, but for a lot of people, we've had 2,000 private sector job losses in the last years, 1,000 job losses in the council, with unemployment at 10%. You'd almost read that you're penalising some who haven't managed to secure extra hours. Somebody has managed to. So I'm a bit curious as to why that.
Thank you. Lorna.
The reading is managed to secure as opposed to. I understand it. Don't quite tick a box trying to get more hours, but a lot of people are trying to can't manage it at the moment. Kind of reads at the moment that secure extra hours is actually seeking the extra.
Thank you. Councillor Geddes.
Well, I think, what I would like to see as a general principle, Chairman, is that this authority will do everything it legitimately can to mitigate the impact of, that's basically, to me, the underlying rationale. Having made the point, I would like to think that perhaps we can further refine the various bullet points set out in paragraph 10. And I would like to see us putting them into some degree of priority. That's not meant, as it were, to sort of box people who are charged with dealing with this into a corner. But interestingly enough, Chairman, as someone who has argued various forums in this authority over the past 14 years about the role of internal guidelines, policies, call it what you will, it's interesting to read the last sentence of paragraph 3.6. Even though an authority may establish internal guidelines, it should be prepared to make exceptions on the basis of every individual case. I think it's well settled at law, Chairman, that, in those cases where authorities have discretion, and that is, I was suggesting, a very significant majority of their areas of activity, that they must exercise that discretion and must exercise it in reasonable terms. And I think it's helpful to see that stated, for some of us anyway, to see that stated in black and white in a report such as this. I do appreciate that there's got to be consistency, both the geographic consistency and in relation to the interrelationship of the different bullet points. But with the same token, there's got to be the balance struck between that consistent application, hopefully on the basis of a system of priorities that we will focus, refine and establish, and still have the exercise of the discretion, which is not only conferred upon us, but which we are obligated to undertake and to use. It may be a somewhat difficult balancing act, Chairman. I think that it's up to us to give a guidance to those of our officials who are tasked with dealing with it, and to continue to monitor it on an ongoing, unremitting basis to ensure, in fact, that we are getting the maximum amount of benefit and impact, and that we are mitigating the impact of this legislation to the greatest possible extent.
you. Councillor McGregor?
Most of the points have been covered, but just one I mean, obviously, it's been done looking at what other Scottish authorities are doing, what well, have any of those priorities it would be prioritised, but you know, what benchmarks we've got from others, and it's slightly semantic. I'm not, no, I won't get a room, but I'm not terribly comfortable. And that's not what the and I don't leave it at that.
Other than Councillor McGregor's final sentence, do you have any comment, Lorna?
I think it varies from local authority to authority. Some have priority lists, so I would have to look at the majority. This is the list with
Thank you. Councillor Maitland?
Thank you. It seemed to me, looking at these bullet points, that they were very large, apart from three, I think. That's the first two, and the one talking about people being vulnerable due to ill health or other reasons, for example, learning disability. The rest of them seem to be transitional, not permanent in nature. And I think maybe that's something that we might make clear, that it is about transition, because the money will not go round, will not stretch to fill the demand. I mean, we would look at the issue, but without an eye. And I mean, you know, I think we've got to be, I'm not entirely clear how you managed to do this. I think we're setting ourselves up to do something seriously difficult. And I know from just having spoken to people as you do go round, that there is perceived to be an unfairness out there. And unless we get these things completely transparent, and that people really do know what the rules are and the parameters are, you're really creating something actually which might be even worse than the problem that we first start out with, which is both a squeeze in terms of budgets and an unfairness when it comes to trying to mitigate the worst problems in So what I would really say is that whatever we come up in this list, I don't see anything particularly wrong with anything there. I think that's a sensible stab at it. But I would like to know that we would come back to this in a year's time. We would maybe sample some cases so that there would be absolute clarity, that we were sure that we could go out and say to people, we know what's going on, we know how it's been monitored, and we've had a session looking at some cases, and we are satisfied that you have been treated fairly, because that's what the public has been treated fairly.
Thank you, but we have got assurance that there will be monitoring this, will be an oversight by the need continue to monitor all Lord Floyd some that by happening out there, prepared adjustment. Who prepared? What adjustment? I think just gave an indication. It's not been made. All of them. Councillor Cavalier.
I'm quite happy with the word. Quite open, quite broad, applied. As far as the bedroom tax, I did pick up on that as well. But it is, I think it's when I looked at it, I read it 3 times.
you. Councillor Geddes?
Yeah, I would suggest so that, when we come to the recommendations, that my own personal view is that we should endeavour, to assess, to work towards some form of prioritisation of these points. I appreciate, as Lorna has said, some authorities do prioritise or endeavour to prioritise, some don't. Again, without sort of trying to reduce, flexibility, the degree of flexibility of those. I personally think no bad thing. Do it, and do it in a transparent and a just and equitable fashion. To look at endeavouring to order some. Jane says, you're talking in certain circumstances here about transitory arrangements against more permanent. And I think that could perhaps be weighted into some form of prioritisation. If other people are doing it, what I'm really saying is, don't let's be too proud to see if we can learn from these mistakes, and at least look at it. I would suggest that we should accept that as a principle today.
Thank you. Like to comment, Mr. Tracy?
Yeah, I think that made. I think what I'd suggest is look at some priorities we actually work around that, perhaps come back. Perhaps don't at the moment, but what you'll have alongside that as well. Probably can that
Thank you. Councillor Carruthers?
Sure, I would agree with that entirely as well. Even agree with what Councillor Geddes is saying in principle, but stats, we leave it to June the 11th. This is where the arts, where it's been effective. Take it valid.
Okay, no members have any other questions? Go to the recommendations. Note 2.1. And to consider the priority individual circumstances for allocation. Agree the priority of individual circumstances for allocation of discretionary housing payments and to receive a further report regarding the contents of para 3.10. Councillor Smith, first of all, and Councillor Geddes.
I just come back to the point I made at bullet point 4. Agree with Councillor Carruthers. I mean, it reads at the moment that if I work 5 hours a week and I get an hour a week, but if I'm working part-time and I'm actively seeking a full-time job to really help me, then I won't be actually manage your extra hours rather than manage or seeking extra hours. Real issue. Really are trying to incentivise somebody a job if they possibly can in the current climate, then you should also support people that are actively seeking employment.
I think Lorna did give us a check. Veracity. Councillor Geddes?
Well, I've very considerable degree of sympathy for the comment that Councillor Smith made, but I go back to what I said earlier. I think we should be looking. I was not suggesting we try to prioritise, and if anybody's sort of trying to represent that, that I did say that's simply not the case. And I have no problems with what Mr. Tracy has said. Let's endeavour to do this going forward on the basis of still information, etc. It's imperative, in my view, that we at least endeavour to address the issue, to take it from there. I'm not saying big bang. Let's do it on the basis of an incremental.
Okay, so happy for that report to be brought back to your committee. Suggest that the June committee 11? No? Wouldn't be feasible. I'm trying to suss out resources here. Just.
Yeah, there's a number of reports that are I would anticipate coming back. Some of which we discussed today. Financial inclusion strategy will ultimately go to policy resources. Comes first. Draft strategy recommendations, specific recommendations from housing subcommittee to come here. Ask perhaps a bit more time on prioritising, simply because a bit more research with other local authorities, a bit more than
So those reports come back to the 1st of July meeting. Okay, members happy with that? Councillor Ogilvie?
Just with your indulgence, Chair, just before we close the meeting, at the seminar in the afternoon there was several PowerPoint presentations made, not big, but had some very good statistics in. And I asked the people organising the event, our people, if that would be possible to pass that to every member because it's useful bullet point stuff. And we also got these crib sheets, which I think are very useful, which every member should be given. I know we're looking after the sort of remit of it, but background information for every member would be useful. Stuart Hamilton, I spoke to, if that helps. I mentioned his name, but I did ask Stuart, he said he would flag it up. So if we get that, it's all electronic, so you can just fire them off to people. Easy. Thanks very much, Chair.
Thanks very much.
Just a
Councillor
final issue.
Maitland.
A couple of people have mentioned the 11th of June. I'm sorry, I've got nothing in my diary. This meeting again.
Mr. Tracy mentioned the 11th of June as being the next available date that proposing the meeting continue then. Councillor Geddes?
And I would remind you, sir, I make no apologies for reminding you that, I trust that, the 11th of June, in fact, will not clash with anything else. I've listened with a mounting degree of frustration today. Colleagues who were fortunate enough to be at last week's seminar making repeated references to it. At least two of the members here today weren't they, through no fault of ours.
Thanks very much. I have no other business. Thanks very much for your attendance.